Okay guys, so I've gotten a lot of questions on how to install my Reshade Cinematic Realism version 2. I'm going to do the best that I can to go through the installation procedures here, actually even boot up the game a couple times to show you how to switch presets manually if you need to do that, and show you guys kind of how to get it working so that way you guys can get up and running as quick as you can. So once you're on my page and you scroll down and kind of read through the description and the requirements and you see what this reshade is all about, one of the things you'll notice and what makes it a little different is that I've actually taken the time to create a reshade preset for most of the locations in the game. So most of the main locations like White Orchard, Toussaint, Kaer Morhen, Velen, they all have a different reshade. Now, they're all kind of based on the same parameters that I put, so it all does kind of feel like it's still the same game or reshade, but I've just tweaked some of the colors and lens flare and bloom in some areas. Some areas feel warmer while others feel colder, so on and so forth. There are two versions, which we're going to go over once you download, a more cinematic and a more realistic. So the cinematic version includes a film grain, like the cinematic letterbox, and it's also a little brighter because the film grain actually makes the image a little darker, so I made it a little bit brighter to kind of offset that. The more realistic doesn't have a film grain or letterbox, and it's actually a little bit darker as well. So the installation has there's three steps, two main ones though. So there are two mandatory parts of this. Step 2, you'll see here in a second, is optional. So let's just jump right into the installation process. And then again, I'm going to kind of actually boot up the game here a couple times to show you how to switch in presets in and out manually if you want, as well as show you guys that it does work. Okay, so the first part of this installation you'll see is that you need to download Super Turbo Lighting Mod 2.2.1. 2.2.1 has been removed from the Nexus. It's been updated to 3.1. Now, I waited for 3.1 to see if I was going to modify my reshade for it. Personally, I just didn't like it. It's just an artistic difference in choice, but no worries. This reshade though does use 2.2.1. So where do you get it? Well, you have to go to you got to go to ModDB, this site that I've linked here, to download 2.2.1. So you go to this site right here, download the file, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to place Super Turbo Lighting Mod 2.2.1 into your Witcher mod folder. So here on my desktop, you can see I have up here on the left hand side the Super Turbo Lighting Mod 2.2.1. I'm going to take this mod out, put it on my desktop. Okay, I'm going to cut it, Control X, and then when I go back to my Witcher folder here, which is found in Steam Apps, Common, Witcher 3, you'll see that I have a mods folder. Now everybody might not have a mods folder. If you don't have one, just create a mods folder. Now inside the mods folder, you would simply just paste the Super Turbo Lighting Mod into your mod folder. Now as you can see, I have a bunch here. Actually this is mod number 20 here on the list. I've actually renamed it to be mod 20 Super Lighting Mod 2.2. That is the same mod as this one here, right, that we've extracted, that we downloaded directly from ModDB. So once you've downloaded this, you go into your mods folder, which can be found in Steam Apps, Common, Witcher 3, and mods. It's going to be a little bit different if you use GOG. You paste the Turbo Lighting Mod into your mods folder, and that's step 1. Step 2 within the mod, or part 2, is optional. Okay, it's not required, but it's highly recommended. So the reason for this is because since it does have multiple reshade presets for every location, you either have to make a choice. Do you want to manually install each reshade preset for the location manually when you go to a new area, which isn't hard to do, or do you want a program in the back that can do it for you? Now, we're going to assume that you want the program in the back. If you want the program in the back, then you need to go to this link here, which pulls up this mod, different SFX or reshade preset for each location. You need to follow the instructions, okay? Download the mod. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you've downloaded it, okay? And then you need to install it appropriately. So what that would look like is if I go back out here to my desktop, you'll see that I have the different SFX preset mod here. Now this is what it looks like after you've downloaded it and you open it up. You'll notice there's a bin folder, a mods folder, right? And then there's this merging, and then there's this other batch file. Now I actually personally didn't have to run the batch file at all to get it to work. You need to go ahead and follow the instructions on this mod page, and you may have to run that batch file to get it to work. I didn't have to. Okay? So once you open up this folder here, right? Once you open up this folder here, you'll see that there's a mods folder, a bins folder. So whatever in the mods folder, I open that up, you'll see it's the mod SFX presets mod, which I have here as my set number 2. So you'll simply take that, you'll copy it, right? And then you'll paste it into your mod folder. Okay, so whatever in the mod folder, you put in your personal mod folder. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that I have my Steam Apps Common Witcher 3 mod folder open. I've pasted this mod, right, into this folder. Now, once I've done that, you can see there's a bin folder here. Now this bin folder, when I open it up, it has a config folder and an x64. Okay, so you just want to do the same thing. You want to copy the config folder here, paste it into this folder here to overwrite whatever in here. So if I dive down, you'll see our R4 game, user, config matrix, PC, right? So here, R4 game, user, PC, mod, right? And you'll see that it's here. So I've already put it here. This is from the mod. This is in my actual folder. Okay, so let's go back to the x64. So I copy what's in here into the config, and then the x64, if you open it up, you'll see this is actually where your Witcher 3 launch file is. So once you copy this file into here, just like this, right, this will give you a program that you end up running and you launching. So it's an executable. So just like this, you can see all I did was just copy. I did copy and paste it into here, right? And this executable, you're going to boot it up. And as you can see, it says right now, Reshade or SweetFX is actually not found. So we haven't got around to actually installing my preset yet. So once you have this in here, then you're pretty much ready to go. Now this program will actually automatically switch it for you once you install my preset. So again, we've assumed that you did opt for part 2 here, and you did download this file. You did follow the instructions. Okay. Once you've done that, go to part 3, which is mandatory. So this is not an optional. This is actually my actual reshade, right? So you need to download it here. So this is the one that I had actually put up this morning. The one that I put up last night had a couple errors in it. They should all be fixed now. But there's 2 files here. There's the main file, and then there's this install steps, which actually is just some pictures which go through what I'm kind of showing you now. So once you download this file, you will see right here, that it has a step 1, a step 2, and then it actually has the steps here as well in a picture format. So the first thing you need to do when you download my file is take all this stuff here. You don't need to take the picture. This picture here just shows you what it should look like. Okay? But at this point, right, you need to take everything here, copy, and paste it into your Witcher 3 bin x64, right? So when I open this up and I look at step 1 here, right, step 1, it shows me that I should have a location preset, a reshade folder, right, a D3, D11, and reshade. Okay, and we decided to go ahead and install the second option of having the different SFX preset executable here. So that's also shown in the picture. But this is how it should look. Okay, now once you've done that, you just simply go back here and you go to step 2. Now you're going to select a preset. It's going to ask you, do you want depth of field, yes or no? So just for the sake of showing it off, let's say, yes, I want depth of field. And then it's going to ask you, okay, do you want the more cinematic preset or do you want the more realistic preset? Now, if I open up this picture here, it'll kind of give you an idea. So you need to select one of those presets and then you need to place your selected reshade files into the location preset folder. Here's the reshade preset folder. I'll show you here. Right here, shown in the picture. I need to place whichever one I decide, right? I need to place the contents, copy contents into the location, right? I need to copy this folder here, right, into this folder. So I've selected I want the more cinematic preset. I chose that I wanted yes, depth of field, right? So yes, depth of field. I want the more cinematic. And then I simply copy this reshade folder into my locations preset, just like that. Okay? So if I look at the pictures, it's going to tell you, copy this into your location preset folder, right? Then it's going to tell you what to do if you decide to manually install your reshade presets every time, as opposed to using this different SFX preset executable. So we'll go over that last, because at this point we're done. So we have followed all the steps, right? We installed the Super Turbo Lighting mod, so that was step 1. We took the Super Turbo Lighting mod, which we found on mod DB, and we pasted it into our mods folder. The second step we decided to actually use, which is optional, is we went to the different SFX reshade preset. We downloaded that. We put the executable in our Witcher x64 file. We copied over the bin contents, right? You need to follow his instructions as well. And once we did that, everything looked just like the pictures here. And then we went down to downloading my actual preset and selecting whether or not we wanted depth of field. We selected whether we wanted the cinematic or realistic preset, and then we copied the files into the location here, the location preset here in the x64 bin. Now, if it has been done just like this, you should be able to simply launch the different SFX executable just like this, okay? And you'll see it says now using reshade, and your Witcher executable has been detected, and then it loaded the default preset. Now, where do these presets come from? The ones that you copied over from here, right? Yes, we wanted depth of field, we wanted more cinematic. When you dive down into these and you start opening up the folder, you'll see there's a default preset, there's one for Kaer Morhen, Novigrad, Skellige, right? So you open these up and each one has its own files. So what this program does when you open it up in the back, it will go ahead and detect, because the mod that you installed earlier, it will detect where you're at. Let me get this up. Okay. This executable the mod will detect where you're at. It will tell the executable where you've gone, and then the executable will then go into your location preset. It'll find, okay, he went to Cairmorn, so it'll go into the Cairmorn folder. It'll actually take these, it'll copy them, and then it'll paste it into your reshade. So that's exactly how the program works. So how I just did it manually, which you can do, the program will do it for you. So if it works like I say it should work, we should be able to go in here now, open up the Witcher, and then you'll see up in the upper left-hand corner when the game launches, you'll see that it'll say reshade has been found. It's compiling the effect just like that there. It succeeded. So we go all the way through. Now let's just go ahead and load a game for White Orchard. Now you guys have even seen this load in a couple of videos that I've done. Now in the upper left-hand corner, you can see compiling effects succeeded. Every time you switch a location where there's been a preset created, it's going to do that. That executable in the background is going to identify, hey, he just switched to a location, and then they're going to go into the location preset folder, they're going to copy, and then they're going to paste into your actual reshade folder. And so here it is. Right? So here is the file. So as you guys can see, it's got a depth of field on it, which I can disable with F4. We chose the depth of field effect, so it's going to have it on standard, but I can disable it with F4 just like this. So if you guys look at the windmill, I can turn it off and on just like that. But the depth of field has been kind of calibrated to where you technically should be able to play with it for the most part. Like as you can see as I'm walking, right? It's not so horrible to where I can't like see roach here. It doesn't make it to where it's unplayable. I can play just like this for the most part. Okay? Now, if I decide to go in and load another game, you'll see as it loads in the upper left hand corner, it's compiling the effect. So the executable just once again just detected, now I'm going to Skellige, so it went into the location preset, it's copied and then pasted into the reshade folder. Right? So again, this is the more cinematic with depth of field, which I can turn off with F4. Okay? So let's exit out of this. Now, one thing you may have seen with the depth of field is it is going to blur out some features like dialogue. It is going to blur out the map at times, or your compass. There's nothing that can really be done about that, the way that reshade works. So if you don't want to use the depth of field, don't choose that option. So like when you go here into your folder, right? Do you want to use depth of field, yes or no? If that doesn't bother you so much, and it's just easy for you to turn it off during dialogue, or when it's bothering you for one reason or another, you can just simply hit F4. So that's pretty much that. Now you can see this executable as it was running in the background, right? See, look, location changed, White Orchard. Location changed, Skellige. And then it went in automatically, copied everything from the corresponding area, Skellige, White Orchard, and then it pasted it into the reshade. Okay, so that's pretty much the install. Now at this point, if you have decided to use everything that we went through, then you should be done. If you've decided that you don't want to use this mod for one reason or another, conflicts, you just don't want to take the effort, you can do all this manually. So that's done by simply following all the steps that we did, minus the different SFX preset here, right? So I've deleted that, so now it's not automatically going to do that. I didn't follow step 2. So I did go through though, however, right? And I did copy and paste everything in here. Copy, paste all this in here. I'm going to replace it because I've already put it in there. I went in, and I selected whether I want depth of field, yes or no. This time let's select no, and I want a more realistic preset, right? And then I'm going to take this reshade as it says, and I'm going to copy it into my location preset folder just like this, replace everything. Okay, so now you might say, well, why even have the location preset folder if you're not going to use that SFX executable, which switches them out? I just find it to be an easy spot right next to your reshade file to store all the different presets. So if I know that I'm playing in Kaer well, then I'll just go into this file here. I'll open up the Kaer preset, copy everything here, go back to your x64 folder, and then put everything in your reshade. Because reshade, your D3DLL, which is the reshade file, it doesn't identify the locations presets, any of these reshade presets in here. It doesn't identify any of those. It only identifies this reshade folder here. So it's ever in here, that's what the actual reshade is going to load. So I said that I was going to be in Kaer, right? I went in here, I selected over here, in the actual mod folder that I downloaded, I selected whether I wanted depth of field. I wanted the more realistic one. I copied everything into my locations preset folder just like this. I went in, I grabbed the Kaer files, and then I just go back here and I copy and paste. Now, this isn't very hard, so let me show you an example of this. I'm going to fire up The Witcher 3. Now, since I don't have the SFX executable running in the background, it's not going to switch it out for me. When we fire this up, you're going to see up in the upper left-hand corner, it is going to say compiling effect, but that's it. It's just going to do it just one time. Anytime that I switch or load into another spot, it's not going to load another preset because I'm not using that step 2. I'm not using that different SFX preset executable. So since I know I chose the Kaer one just for uniformity's sake, let's see if I can find Kaer save. Okay, so here's a save for Kaer. So this one, the options that I chose and the files that I copied from the location preset into the actual reshade folder where my x64 file was, or x64 location was, you'll see this one is specifically tuned for, if I get through all this dialogue, it's specifically tuned for Kaer. So if I go ahead and fast travel to another location, it's going to look different. It's not going to be calibrated for this, right? So this one was actually calibrated specifically for Kaer. And as you can see, at least in my opinion, I think it looks pretty dang good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and load Velen. So I'm going to load Velen, and as you're going to see as this goes through, there's not going to be any change in the preset. There's nothing going to be said in the upper left-hand corner because, again, we're doing this all manually now. So once the game actually loads up, you're just going to simply Alt-Tab out of the game, which is going to minimize the game. And then you're just going to go into your folders. You're going to copy and paste the Velen files into your reshade files. So here is, all right, so here is Velen, but this is the Kaer reshade. So it's going to still look very similar, but it is going to look a tad bit different. Every location is calibrated for one another. So this is Velen with the Kaer preset. So I'm going to Alt-Tab out, right? I'm going to go into my location preset folder, reshade. I'm going to go down here to the Novigrad Velen, copy all these, go into my reshade folder, paste, and that's it. Okay, I just did manually what that executable was doing, and as you can see, right, it has now changed the look and feel of Velen from the last reshade that we had. now every time that if you're going to be doing this manually, every time that you load a new area, you're going to have to do that. That's not really a huge problem in this game, in my opinion, because, like, for instance, we just loaded Velen. Well, I may be in Velen for another 10, 15, 20 hours. You're not really switching locations too often until you kind of get to the end of the game. So I could be fine just playing this with no real issues at all. But again, once I switch to Skellige or Kaer Morhen, then I need to do the same thing. I need to Alt-Tab out of the game. I need to go find the actual location preset file, right? Go into wherever it is, copy those files, and then paste them into the reshade. And you're not kind of set and done. At any point, whether you're using the executable for the different SFX presets or you're doing it manually, at any time you can simply go back to my mod and choose, hey, I want to now use the depth of field and I want a more cinematic look. Well, you can just simply follow the same instructions again. I want a more cinematic with depths of field. I'm going to copy this folder, put it into my reshade here, the different location preset, right? Go back in. Okay, so again, we're in Novigrad, right? Or in Velen. So I just copied the more cinematic with depths of field into here, and I keep this file here in my x64 regardless of whether or not I'm using the executable for the different SFX or not, because it's an easy place for me to store the different presets. So since I've copied and pasted, I went in there, I copied the new Velen files, I just went in here, replaced these, and when we open this up, you should see that it now looks, when it launches, like a more cinematic feel. So, right, so now it has it's a little bit brighter, right? It has a little bit of film grain, which I think it really makes it look really nice. So, and you can see this preset again, we chose depth of field. So it is playable, as you can see. It's not making anything like overly hard to see, but I can easily, again, with F4, I can turn that off, right? Okay, guys, so I think that's it. I will leave you guys with this beautiful scenery here. Other than that, if you have any other questions, just comment on the page and I'll be happy to help out. Thank you, guys.